Everybody. Nah, you fucked up, you dodo brains. You keep doing it, just get lower.
Okay, let's do it again.
All right.
Dodo.
All right, we're going to try to get it right. I'm not dealing with people that are well here. One more time.
If you're conducting
What's
and
up,
you
Norm?
go
How's
like
it
that.
going,
No, I
Norm?
went like that, but you guys weren't paying attention to the
Yeah, you kind
conductor.
of conducted us to stop.
Well, I'll tell you, there's nobody normal around here.
All right, here we go.
Couldn't conduct a
One more
fucking
time.
bus this
A one and a
last
two and a... All right, everybody, welcome to Norm's Rare Guitars podcast. I want to thank you guys for listening in and watching this nonsense. I've got two very special guests with me today. I don't know a lot about a lot of things. I know a lot about guitars, and I know about good guitar players. So I got my buddy Michael Lemo over here playing a Telecaster,
Hey guys, how you doing?
and I got my buddy Nick Dias.
Hello.
And then
How
we've
is
got the
everybody?
mystery girl, Jen, who's trying to hide. She doesn't want to be on camera because we're actually filming this as we talk. Jen, say something to the room here. I don't know. Speak up, though. You're not right on
Hi,
there she is.
Lily.
that. Yeah, she's just
Her
that
catchphrase.
voice that's been hiding behind cameras for her whole life. People go, where's Jen? Where's Jen? Well, Jen is always hiding, and we try to get her out in front of the camera, but no. So she's got to be difficult.
Not today.
And speaking of difficult, we got Michael Lemo over here.
Difficult. That's a new one.
Yeah, well.
And then we got Nick, who's another difficult guy. There's nobody normal around
I'm
here.
always difficult, yeah. Well, I try anyway.
I
So,
was just shaky.
yeah, we call him Shaky Jake because he's like, when he's holding a camera or
Camera
something.
work.
Boy, I'll tell you, when he does camera work, it's, I feel like there's an earthquake or something going on.
I
you
do
know?
need to do some push-ups so I can hold that camera.
There
That
you go.
camera's heavy. That's another
camera
thing
is
about Jen
insane.
that people
Jen
don't
is-
realize.
Jen,
She's strong.
Yeah.
When we've had to spot for you when you've been away or something, I'm like, damn, how does she do this?
Yeah, I
Holding
wouldn't
the
wanna-
camera 20
yeah.
minutes.
I'll tell you what, though, she's not that fast of a runner because there was a time we had a running race with Joel and Jen, and what
God.
ended up happening was I figured, looking at Joel, I said, and I know Jen plays basketball, I said, this is a pretty good bet. I'll bet Joel $50 that Jen can beat him in a running race. And actually,
hell
Joel
is
ended up
too
winning. I
funny?
think when you put $50 in front of Joel, Joel probably could
Joel's
fly.
kinda,
you know,
Joel's kind of fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you put a ham sandwich on a string out of his hat. Yeah.
Yeah,
That works.
Off his hat, yeah.
yeah, that always
You know
works.
what? You know what that reminded me of actually. Years and years ago, at your old store,
Yeah.
when I showed up playing from England, and you were about to start a round the block foot race with Ralph from Brooklyn Pizza. You
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that?
No, but that was a bicycle race. You
Was
remember
it?
that? Yeah.
Oh,
I don't remember that one.
And what ended up happening was we put a timer on it, and that was, this is not your normal store. So, we know guitars, we're serious about that, but we try to have a good time and do kind of goofy stuff. So anyhow, and we bet on almost anything. So we were betting on who could go around the block the fastest. So, Danny was working there, Danny
yeah.
Duran, and
sure
this
he
guy Ralph
started
who
it.
owned the pizzeria down the street. And what ended up happening was, we tried to make as fast a time as we could going all the way around the block. And at the very end, there was like a pole and there was a traffic light there. So I did it. I went as fast as I could. This guy, Ralph, did it. And then Danny, who, when money's involved, Danny, he didn't want to hit the brakes to the very last minute. So he got to the very end of the block, hit the brakes, the bike stopped, and he went over the top of the bike, and he was laying in the street underneath this car's tire. This lady was driving, and she was stopped at a red light. If she would have been going, Dan would have been toast. Anyhow, Dan came up, and he was bleeding, and I said, Dan, here's the $50. I'll give you another 50 if you could repeat that one more time. So it was a lot of fun, just the hijinks, of having Arrested Development.
That old store was crazy, and we used to show up from London to come see you, and there's always a card game going on.
Right.
But this one time I was saying, it was you and Ralph. I don't know who made the bet, but I know you, because you used to play softball a lot, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Handball. You were pretty fit. Ralph looked like he might not make it out of the pizza shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
He was not what you would call an athlete. Anyway, they wound up racing around this block, and Ralph turns up. He was beetroot red and like sweating pizza grease. It was kind of horrible.
Yeah, no, it was a fairly crazy place.
Yeah.
But, Michael is the new blood at the store, one of the new blood at the store with
that's
Todd
right,
and
up.
Brandon and, the rest of the gang here.
Todd.
And
Todd?
is what I already said
said
that. Thank
Todd.
you,
Oh,
Jen.
you did.
Appreciate that.
Wow.
Thanks. You're
Always
like my daughter,
directing.
always correcting me. Women in my life always got to tell me what I do wrong. I don't know.
I'll join.
It started over
That's
50
great.
years ago with my wife, and my daughter picked it up. Now Jen picks it up. So I did say Todd.
He did.
So Nick and I go back a real long way because Nick worked
Yeah.
at a store
85, I mean. Yeah.
in England. And what was it like back in the day in England, New
ba-
Kings Road?
Back
and
then, it was, because this was all new to me coming over to America, but everyone, my buddy Chris that used to own Vintage and Rare. I'll tell you a potted history. I used to work on Denmark Street, which is a famous music row in London town. And then my buddy Chris, who was coming over here buying guitars from you, opened his own shop called Vintage and Rare.
Right.
I went to work for him over there, and we used to, sometimes we'd bring Marshall amps over, but we'd mainly just come over and shop at Norm's, and we used to buy those wardrobe boxes and fill them full of guitars from your store, take them back to London on freight, and see what we could make happen money-wise.
Yeah, you guys
then
were some of my favorite victims.
Just rinse,
customers.
rinse and repeat. Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah. But it was that store in London was sort of the norms of London
Outlet,
because of
yeah.
all your stuff. And we were your favorite victims. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And got a lot of really cool guitars. I sold a lot of great guitars that are probably still floating around Europe right now.
They are. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that got filtered through us from you. I particularly remember you had a lot of Gretches in at one point, and
Yeah.
I think we bought about maybe 20 Gretches one time, and started taking them back to London. And there was a record label called Postcard that was out of Scotland, and they had the Bluebells and Aztec Camera and all these bands. All of a sudden, everybody had Gretches. You look at Top of the Pops back then, and there's all these Gretches from Norm's Rare Guitars.
And I was laughing when you left. I was going, boy, they bought all those stupid Gretsch guitars, and then all of a sudden everybody had to have a Gretsch guitar.
And we were back for more in a month. Weren't we?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you just never know how things work out.
Great days.
So back in the day, though, you were a guitar player playing in bands, and I know you were in a band with Ricky Gervais.
I
Is that
was,
good?
yeah, the Sacred Hearts. That was, we played all over London. Man, we worked hard, and we couldn't get arrested for a long time. But it was a cracking little band. Ricky was a great singer. He kind of sounds like David Bowie, and he was really thin back then, which is, he'll laugh about that if he hears this.
Now, I saw
and
a
then
picture. It was kind of interesting based on seeing it today.
There was a lot of mascara, and we were just doing whatever was in vogue at the time. But,
Oh, those boys' schools in England, boy, I'll tell you, I don't know.
Well, we do what we have to, But we worked hard back then. That came out wrong, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have Michael Lemo over here, who I'll tell you the story of how we got this guy. And one day in the store, Michael had come in. He's from Philadelphia, which I'm from Philadelphia. And he was sitting in the corner and he was playing guitar. And my son Jordan was in, and my son said, "Hey, Dad, you got to come out and check this guy out." And I said, "Yeah, I'll be out in a minute. Don't worry." He said, "No, you got to come out now and check this guy out." So I saw Michael, and I started talking to him, and we became friendly, and I was really impressed. He's one of the most original guitar players I know. And actually, Jordan and I were in a sushi bar, and we were sitting next to a couple guys from a record company, and they were talking about Alan Rainman, and we said, "Well, we know the right guy for you, you know." And
Yeah, and the first gig was Red Rocks.
there you go. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Michael was out playing with Alan
Yeah,
Rainman.
that was really funny.
Oh, so you got him that gig? I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
Jordan
Yeah.
got
Jordan
him the
pretty
gig,
much,
you know,
yeah, it
so-
was.
Yeah, he was a big champion of yours. Yeah.
Jordan has done more for me than I can even explain. He's got an ear. He's definitely got an ear.
Yeah.
And he hears things.
He's a
and
great
when he
singer,
hears
and
When he
something,
hears
very
something he
original.
likes, he won't let it go.
He won't let it go, which
Yeah.
is the sign of a good ear, I think, because you know what you've heard. You know what I mean? And
'Cause
I'm not saying that I'm that great, but
Because everybody
he
else thought you
has
were a
an ear.
pain in the ass. So,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. No, he's been great helping me, and I've obviously done a lot of sessions with Jordan too.
Wow. He's
which
got
is-
some really cool original.
He
stuff
does.
and
He
all
does.
that,
He's a
Yeah.
creative mind, and but he's obviously helped me a lot, and it's cool because he definitely puts the music first always because.
And what ended up happening was Michael came into the store and he said, "You know, I'm thinking about maybe going back
Yeah.
to Pennsylvania. You know, things. You know, I've got gigs and stuff, but it's not that steady." And I'm kind of thinking of kind of turning it in and going back there. And I said, "Michael, no, don't do that. You know,
Yeah,
we'll hire
yeah.
you at the store
Back to
here."
the mines.
And
Yeah.
it was a really good thing, and I'm really grateful that you stayed. And that
Oh,
it all
I'm
worked
It did. It
out.
worked out great.
Yeah, it's-
Because I mean, the thing about your place is you've got to have a personality thing going on anyway. It's a busy music shop, but aside from that, we all have to get along. So it helps if you got a sense of humor and.
Yeah, you need
You
some
don't take
thick skin
yourself
too.
too seriously.
Yeah, no, you
Yes,
got to be
you
able
do.
to take it
Yeah.
because
Yes, you do.
we dish it out pretty good.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of piss
one
taking
day
involved.
I came back with chef pants on, and
Chef Jeff.
and Joel goes, "You know what those are, right?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "They're chef pants," and Norm sure let me have it the rest of the day. I think I even dropped the trash can in front of Joe Bonamassa too. It was a mess.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I said that's quite a look. You know,
Yeah, it
so
was
I
quite a
said,
look.
you
Yeah,
know,
so you gotta take
We
it
were
with a
waiting
grain
for
of
you to
salt.
make us sandwiches as
Yeah,
well. Never
but
happened.
yeah.
yeah.
Just didn't happen.
But what Norm said, I'd appreciate a lot, because I did come in. It was a time where not having something to report to every day is actually harder than people think. People are like, work is, well, there's a reason why there's work, because if you don't do something, you go insane.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of time to myself, and I didn't know what to do with it, so when I got the job, it kind of put everything in line for me, and it's been life-changing for me, so.
Yeah, his dad and mom came
My
in. His
parents
dad
are here.
thanked me and said, he's finally got some discipline of coming into work and all that. Even Uncle Bob and Aunt Janet came in.
Uncle Bob. Uncle
so-
Bob is an
Uncle Bob.
event.
Uncle Bob is a
Bob.
sax player, right?
Yes,
yeah,
he
how does
is.
Uncle Bob? How's that Uncle Bob tune go again?
Uncle Bob, Uncle Bob, Uncle Bob, please play your saxophone. I don't know. Is there an Uncle Bob song?
Oh, it's jazz. He
Yeah,
was,
he's-
Yeah, he's
jazz
a
now.
jazz guy.
and you know what we say about jazz?
Oh yeah, Uncle
I don't
Bob.
know
This
what
is
else.
really funny. Did he ask you about this?
what
About you on the guitar of the day?
No.
So Norm watches Spinal Tap the night before, and one of the famous jokes, right, is jazz is all the wrong notes. So my Uncle Bob never seen Spinal Tap. I don't think he doesn't watch movies. He just listens to music, and he goes, "Mike, was Norm really serious about that? Was he? And I'm like, he's like, don't you guys have jazz people coming through the shop? I'm like, it's a joke.
No, I said, listen, jazz players, what they do is they avoid all the good notes like they're landmines. They kind of jump around them trying to avoid the good notes, just play the bad notes. And the more that you study jazz and you become proficient at playing those bad notes, you end up playing in small clubs rather than big arenas. The rock players know 3 chords. They're playing in big arenas for thousands and thousands of people. The jazz guys, they're playing in a small club with 4 people in there, and they don't even know whether to clap at the end of a tune because they don't know if it's good or bad. They look at each other and go, that was good, wasn't it?
You can
and
play.
if the other guy nods, then they clap.
Yeah.
But they don't
You're not
really know.
compelled
You can
to
play
clap.
3 chords in front of 500 people or 500 chords in front of 3 people.
That's
But
it right
it doesn't,
there.
It doesn't meet in the middle.
Simplicity.
There's a lot of people actually that don't know that Spinal Tap is actually a spoof. I mean, obviously it's because it's so near the knuckle.
Speaking of which, I took Chris from Vintage and Rare to the premiere of Spinal Tap.
Oh, God.
Oh,
And
really?
Chris,
This is good.
can be a little stuffy from time to
his own
time.
arse,
And
yeah.
he was going, they'll never appreciate this in London. Meanwhile, it's like, the big,
Yeah, but
big
he's
thing
also
over
the
there.
guy that said Ricky Gervais will never make it anywhere. That guy's a complete loser.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. So Chris is wrong every
Not the
once in
best
a
thing.
while.
But there was quite a famous story because Spinal Tap is one of those movies. It's on every tour bus of every band ever, and famously Liam Gallagher from Oasis. So it didn't realise it was a spoof, and he went, "Oh no, I just thought they were shit." Like,
No way.
And that
Leave it
was-
to Liam.
yeah,
Ah,
it's like,
you
it's
Brits,
not
you got a
serious.
Liam,
funky sense of
I
humor.
met Liam once, and he was just a kid threw a water bottle at him, and he
really?
got thrown off the stage. And so he runs up to Liam after, and I'm hanging out with Liam, and the kid goes, "I'm so sorry, I threw the bottle at you." He's like, "Oh man, I love you. Don't worry about it." And then this other kid comes up to him and goes, "I love you, man. It's been, I've loved you forever." And he's like, "What the hell's your problem?" So he definitely has
He's
a different.
great. He's great. Liam.
His brain
So,
works a different
go for
way.
it,
Yeah.
North
Yeah.
Pole, South Pole,
Yeah.
or something, So,
He's
but-
amazing though.
But we,
Yeah.
we don't get a lot of normal people that come through this store. I mean, some of the people that you've met since you've been in there, Michael. I mean, you've been in there the shorter time between me and Nick.
Yeah, I mean, well, always the funny story was my first guitar of the day sale was to Slash, and that was always funny because he just came in and Jen, I think, actually was on the phone, right?
Yeah,
And
I
and
answered.
she's like, Slash for the bass 6?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and I'm just like, okay, because Jen always, she's
It's
always
always a
laughing
good
at me.
phone call. You got Slash on hold.
Yeah. So he comes in, and that was pretty crazy because what I think the coolest thing about it was how normal the situation was, in terms of how nice he was, and just it was like, yeah, and I actually got to see him really kind of go for it for a second, and it was like, yeah, there's no there's a reason why he is who he is.
What's really cool is that, these people are just regular people. I mean, everybody idolizes these guys,
Yeah.
so much, and they put them on a pedestal. But these are just normal people that live in their life, 100 years
Well,
from now.
especially
None
musicians.
of
I
this
mean,
stuff's going to matter.
You can tell
Even
a
this
musician.
podcast might not matter 100 years from now. But maybe
Why
it
not
will.
matter 100 minutes from now? To know?
Thank you.
But no, the thing is, it is normal. But our clientele, people don't pay to see normal. I mean, you don't pay
No.
to go see your next door neighbor. So the thing is, with our clientele or client list or our friends that shop here, their day job is extraordinary. It's pouring your soul out in front of thousands of people. But the fact that they come to shop and they take their work so seriously, that's kind of the cool part, because you get to see how people, no, that's not quite the pickup I'm looking for, and they.
We try to break them down, though, and kind of make them human. Like
Yeah.
there was a time Steven Tyler came in the store,
Oh, boy.
and we had a whoopee cushion, and we had the remote, and so he sat down on the thing, and he
Pump it
kind of
drum
like,
video?
and we all looked. It's not on video. This was in our old store, and everybody kind of looked at him like, man, and he was like, he was really embarrassed. Then we had another thing that when Sarah and Jordan were kids, we went to Disneyland, and I got this thing. It was like a leash with nothing on the end of the leash. You know, it had
The
like
invisible dog
It was an
joke.
invisible, but it had like a dog, a cat, a chicken, a cow, all kinds of animal sounds that we could press. And we had it set up behind the desk so that we could press it when people came in. So Dave Amato, who's like our real good buddy, came in, and Dave is by the back wall, and Danny presses this thing, the cat sound. And Dave kind of looks and has like this inquiring kind of look, and then Danny presses it again, and Dave goes, "There's a cat someplace around here," and Danny goes, "No, that cat's been stuck in the wall for about 2-3 weeks. He's probably doesn't probably have much more time to go." And Dave's going, "Man, you got to get the cat out of the wall. You got to get the cat out of the wall." And then he kept pressing the cat thing, and then finally we pressed the cow noise, and then Dave Amato goes, "You asshole," because we had him. He thought we had a cat nearly dead in the wall. So
Dave would be worried.
this nonsense goes on all the time. By the way, Dave has brought in so many people. He brought in Ted Nugent. He brought in Richie
Dave's
Sambora. Brought all the guys
Dave's
from
one of our
Aerosmith.
favorites.
He's one of our buddies.
Yeah.
So
Or even the classic. Speaking of Jordan, when to the Tom Petty video, that's one of the funniest ever. Where he goes, "Quiet down over there," and Tom's like, "I'm sorry, man," and you're just like, "This is amazing."
and Tom goes, "You threw me out of here the last time I came in." I said, "Well, you're just going to have to handle those guitars a little more."
Yeah, he was just rolling with it.
Yeah,
It's
it was
amazing.
very cool. So, and the cool thing is, like, I ended up in California strictly by accident. I came out here with a band and just fell into the right place at the right time. I probably had 20 guitars with me when I came out, 20 or 30, and, thinking about starting a business, but didn't realize it, but I wound up in the place that was the center of the guitar universe and never knew who might walk in at any time. We opened the store because I was buying and selling guitars out of a 3-bedroom apartment in Sherman Oaks, and there was just wall-to-wall guitars in there. And finally, I got a notice that I had to turn legitimate, and we had to open up a store from the State Board of Equalization. So we ended up opening a small store, 500-square-foot store in Reseda. It was a tiny store. And I didn't know whether I was going to be in business in 5 days after we opened or a year open. I figured if we got 5 years out of this, it'd be great. But it's kind of caught on. And when we first opened, the first day that we opened, James Taylor was one of our first customers. And he just walked in. And I wasn't even in the store. I was out buying a guitar from somebody. And my friend Scott Borden, who worked with me, was in there. And it was... James Taylor was like his idol. He almost relieved himself, right there, And that's just kind of the way it's been with the store is that, we never know who might drop in some days.
And that was the little tiny
nobody,
store, right?
Days, yeah.
Next
it was
to
a tiny,
Birch Alley. I remember the first time I ever walked in there in 1985, and there was a shop front. There was a big glass window, obviously a glass window. So it was sort of murky in the back. There was a little back room, and I see what looked like these two sort of maybe homeless guys rooting through a drawer. And I'll say, "Hey, Norm," and I'm like peering towards the back, and I'd say, "Hear this." And as I got in, and your eyes got used to the dark a bit more, it's Tom Petty and Bob Dylan rooting through this drawer full of pickups,
That
looking
makes
for
sense with that
Telecasters.
voice, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's so
So
funny.
that was
yeah.
sort of my first taste of Norms.
I think
I
it's.
think we all went out to a vintage car show that night.
I mean,
Yeah.
it may be better that the cameras weren't there, but it's pretty crazy to imagine if they were. Because I've even asked you about. Kurt Cobain came in once.
Yep.
You saw him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because Norm,
At the
some
time,
of it's
it
not
was
his
really
thing,
early
and to
on-
me, I'm
early
like,
on.
he just comes in, and it's like
Yeah.
that's like.
With Courtney Love and a couple of the other people from Hole. And
So it's not, I'm just, my point even about that is it's crazy because, we know about a lot of the guys that are even before that, but even through the 90s, all these guys were just coming in. And Kurt, I think if you picture him walking into Norman's Rare Guitars,
It's always
cool.
been a destination. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
Norms.
just
You
so
go
cool.
to LA, you go to Norms. It's sort of where vintage guitars were, where the business was invented anyway. or it's the mecca for vintage guitars.
Well, we're serious about the guitars. I know you think we're a bunch of idiots, and we are, but but we're sort of like Rainman idiots. We love guitars. We can tell you all the details on guitars and all that kind of stuff. But rather than be professorial and be boring, we like to torment each other a little bit. Like our friend Chris, from London, we would play terrible tricks on him.
I remember the sardines in his T-Bird.
That's what I was going to say.
Sorry.
He had just bought like a 62 or 63 T-Bird.
62.
And what we did was, and he would come in and he'd give us all kinds of stuff because he was trying to hand it back to us. So we went up to the liquor store and bought a can of sardines. And then we opened them and we put them under the seat of his car.
In the middle of summer.
He couldn't figure out what was stinking in that
It could
car.
have just been him.
Never got rid of that smell.
Well, yeah.
Knowing him,
I don't
I
think
met
they
the
bathe
guy.
as much in England. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely got a stench.
Yeah. It's sardines. It's still
A
there.
musk.
It's eau de sardine.
It's a musk.
So
sardine.
there was another time. This is kind of another terrible story, and this really makes us look like complete idiots. But in complete disclosure, I'm going to just tell you this. So Danny ended up buying this one guitar, and Chris ended up saying, let's get some bubble gum and we'll put it in the strings of the guitar so when Danny opens the case, he'll kind of freak out. So Danny obviously opens up the case of the guitar, and we said, we were egging Danny on. We were going, Danny, why don't you show? We had this friend of ours from Japan, and his name is Masa, and we said, Danny, show Masa your new guitar. And Danny opens the case, and there's like about 10 big things of bubble gum mixed up in the strings, and Danny saw,
He lost it.
he lost it. So a few days later, Chris ended up buying this beautiful L5 from us.
Uh-oh.
Now, Danny had a very large dog, and in the backyard, the dog had relieved himself. And Dan took a giant turd and loosened the strings and put the turd in the strings of the guitar.
Oh,
It was a
God.
turd land.
So it was a turd land. So what happened was, Chris, Danny was saying to Chris, hey, why don't you show, I think Nick was in,
Yeah.
why don't you show, and he had a girlfriend, Deborah, at the time,
He
was a
did.
very
The
pretty
gorgeous
model looking girl, and Danny says, Chris, why don't you show, Deborah, your new guitar and all that, and he opens it up and there's like a giant turd in the strings of the guitar.
there we go.
And
Flies
so
buzzing around.
it was like getting even, and like all this stuff was going on for I don't know how long, but anytime we could think of something to break the monotony. Because, in the store where we are, we're sort of off the path. So we can sit there, even nowadays, it can be really crowded or there could be nobody in there for an hour or two. And just we're purposely off the path because we don't want to have just stragglers just come in. And we want it to be people who are actually interested in guitars or people who have a good sense of humor. Or whatever. So,
People that can handle it.
but, I'm sorry to tell you these kind of stories, but I think that you guys need to hear them just so you know that we are a bunch of idiots in a lot of ways, but we are Rain Men when it comes to
I think
guitars.
they knew that. Yeah.
So, there you go. There's Michael. Yeah. So, while we're here, both of these guys are great guitar players, and I know great guitar players. That's one thing I do know. So, Nick and Michael, why don't you play a little something? Or why don't you play that thing that you were talking about before?
What?
This is
well,
like
seeing as you handed me this gorgeous 44 Martin to play. See, that's the other thing about working for Norm. Although we've known each other and we've always got along really well. He has this thing where great guitars gravitate towards him. And if you're in Norm's world, then some of that fallout happens to you as well. So I've got to play some of the most fabulous guitars that I probably would never have seen otherwise. But so I'm sitting holding this 1944 Martin 018, which is just beautiful.
So he was doing that
sublime,
thing, it was
really.
kind of like a lullaby or
yeah.
something before,
It's the new NyQuil advert. I'm
Oh,
available
isn't that
for
lovely?
bar mitzvahs, weddings, funerals.
Yeah, he's available for all kinds of stuff, you know.
It's pretty.
Or
it's pretty.
sleepovers. And Michael Lemma, why don't you play a little something for us there? I mean, is there anything that you actually know?
Yeah, do the stuff that I taught
Do
you
something
tonight.
you know. You know,
The Jen stuff, that's a D chord, right?
The D chord. Yes.
there you go. We had a buddy of ours years ago, Robert Stamps, who wrote a tune one time. It was a jingle based on the Cal Worthington theme song. If you need a good guitar, go see Norm's. He'll trade you for a fuzz tone, go see Norm's. And it was like, I wish I knew where that track was because you people would get a kick out of it. Not a great advertising for us, but
Yeah, that was terrible.
said,
Go see Cal.
if you need a real boss telly, he's got a belly full of jelly or something. I don't know. It was something stupid like that. But, you know, knowing us.
There was a
it would
lot
be
of
appropriate.
stupid, that old store.
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
there?
No, there's a lot of stupid. And we've transferred it to the new store. So
Stupidity
Yeah.
is
if you want to come
We're
and see
doing okay.
a
stupid,
new generation of stupidity.
right here. We got the young ones stupid. We got the old ones stupid. We got the senile ones stupid.
Yeah.
You know.
And we got Joel.
And then we got Joel. Joel is another story. And it's Joel's birthday
It
today.
is, yeah.
Happy
We're not going
birthday,
to tell you what
Joel.
day we're filming this. What we're going to do is kind of superimpose his head on a donkey. That's going to be, you know, his internet gift, you know, so.
The irony being that how much money have you won off him? Joel's challenge has been to play Happy Birthday correctly
That
the
was
first time
recently.
through.
Remember, it was 2
He,
years ago.
for whatever
He still can't do
reason,
it.
you would
It's been
think
8 years.
you would think that he would have it worked out by now.
Yeah, you just take a night and be like, you know, he's gonna say this
just take-
eventually.
Because I would
5
always go to
minutes.
Joel, $20 if you can play Happy Birthday without screwing it up. He,
Ooh,
that's what would happen every time. And you would think that he would have it together enough to be able to work it out so that he could surprise me once. But it's, you know, cost
it's an
him hundreds
honest
of dollars.
defeat too. You can tell when he doesn't. He just can't do it.
Yeah,
No,
I tell him
yeah.
it's got to be in time. You can't like go so slow that you kind of slide up to the note. You got to know where you're going.
Nope.
Well,
Count
he's
them
tried
off and
that.
everything.
He's tried that, and he got that wrong.
He's been on the lost highway
Happy
for
birthday.
a long time.
Yeah.
And then we have our buddy John Tucci, who is a great guy, who is does our amp repair,
John
amp
Tucci,
repair,
yep.
and he does some of our guitar repair too. He's a buddy of mine that kind of came in. It's funny. I used to play with my band in upstate New York, and in this area, Lake George, which was in the Adirondacks. And John actually was from that general area. So one day I was talking to my old drummer, Jerry Greenhouse, about playing up there, and he said, "Oh, I know that area. I'm from that area." And we became friendly and started hanging around. Then I found out he does amp repair, and he's very good at it, and he's a really great guy.
yeah,
and
he's
great.
so he's part of the family there. Then we found Jen, who was actually working for my daughter Sarah briefly there, and we figured we needed a female in there to abuse, you know. So you know, we brought her in. What do you think of this store? I mean, you got to speak up
I
because
mean, 10 years.
Yeah,
10
10 years. Yeah, yeah. We will.
it's a life
kicked
sentence.
off at the
You
same
guys are
time.
crazy. That's all.
Jen, you are a part of it.
Oh,
I
she's
know,
a
I am.
huge part. I don't know what we do without her.
Yeah, we'd fall apart.
And my daughter
Our media
Sarah,
folks.
She left
you know,
her bad
she's shaking her head. She wants to be behind the camera too. She's about to give birth, and she always is the one to say, "Dad."
just broke.
Oh, there you go. And she's the first one to say, "Dad, why do you bring up stuff like turds in a guitar string or something like that?" You know, she says, "You're such an idiot." You know, well, get used to it because
True.
I am what I am, just like Popeye. You know, so.
All right.
Cool.
So anyhow, here we are, at Norm's Rare Guitars at our podcast. I'm so grateful for you guys listening to this. We do have some great guitar players. We have a bunch of people who are going to be doing this.
We're going to do some special guest stuff
Oh,
and
yeah.
have some interesting
Joe is
stories. And,
Bonamassa. We were talking to Dweezil Zappa, James Santiago,
Yeah.
Michael Georgiadis.
And you never know who's gonna show up.
That's right. And we're going to just spring it on anybody, and we're going to let them be amongst the idiot class. But I mean, the one thing is, these guys are all super creative artists, and but they have learned, if they don't have a sense of humor, they've learned to have a sense of humor when they come to Norms, because we don't let up on it. So can you guys take us out with a little bit more, well, that's a hell of an ending. Anyhow, thank you guys for listening to this silly podcast. We love you all, and we're grateful. And even Michael's grateful. Are you grateful, Michael?
Even Michael's
He's the
grateful.
Grateful Dead. Yeah.
That makes me sound terrible. I am always grateful.
There you
Hey,
go.
have you heard my tag on Guitar of the Day? I'm happy to be here.
Have you heard mine? I'm happy to be anywhere.
That is.
Do you hear mine? Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right,
All
Nick
right.
Dias,
Yeah.
Michael Lemo, Jen Ankahan, my daughter Sarah, Brandon, John, Stephanie, we're all here. This is it right here. I hope you guys tell your friends to listen to these podcasts. We love you guys, and thanks for putting up with our nonsense.
No.